was formed, and it had Health Canada officials, it had the manager of the Medical Marijuana Access Division sitting at the table, had other key activists who are signed on to this public document, like Mr. Phil Lucas, Mr. Eric Nash, and so forth, who sat on this committee. Lynn Bellel, another tremendous activist. These people sat on this committee, and we analyzed for 18 months with the #1 lawyer in this country, Mr. Alan Young. For 18 months, we looked at the medical marijuana access regulations, which govern this program that gives me this license. Now, you guys might think it's all good that I'm packing this weed around and that, but at the same time, my home is constantly under threat of being invaded by police. I'm not registered with them, so they get a heat signature for my hydro. You know, of course, the police can't show up now with all a bunch of new rulings, but regardless, city officials can still come and disrupt my home. The Ministry of Children and Family can still come and try and say that I'm somehow an unfit father because of my choice of medicine. Of course, they would have to reword it as such a word as neglect. These are the federal authorities, or these are the provincial and municipal authorities that cannot protect me. Because there's one part of the medical marijuana access regulations, and for those online that are watching, this is important. The one key part about the medical marijuana access regulations, and I keep repeating this as much as I can, you have to follow local, provincial, and federal law. Now, who in the hell can keep up with local, provincial, and federal law? I mean, I certainly can't. Hell, I'm sick with AIDS for 15 years, and I'm expected to keep up with local, provincial, and federal law. These are some of the gaps that remain in here. Do these just run straight through, do they, Ted?
More or less.
Okay. From the 2003 statistics, now, of course, this is right around the time of a case known as HITSIG, which is a group of legal exemptees and card holders, if you have it, decided to get together, some other key activists on the East Coast in Ontario. They got together and they decided that they were going to take on the government again in a case that became known as the carousel case. Now, that case has been appealed and has decided to be moved forward to the Court of Appeal in Ontario. However, the judge there struck down the ratio of 1-to-1. When I talk about a ratio of 1-to-1, it means I'm a grower. Somebody in this room here had a place that I could grow, right? Or that you wanted to grow for me, being a DPL, I should say, more in the case of you being a DPL, growing for me, because I'm in a wheelchair and I can't grow myself, or whatever reason that I can't grow, right? 1-to-1 means that you can only grow for one person. You may have a huge facility, multi-million-dollar facility, to be able to help tons of sick people. The ratio is still 1-to-1. It was challenged back in 2004. Many people forget this, that it was part of HITSIG. In fact, the Medical Marijuana Access Division actually changed their own regulations to address HITSIG. They changed this. This is another case. Again, this case came out in 2004. This as well as on the National Committee. So when this case comes out, it completely tripped things up for, it really tripped things up for the Medical Marijuana Access Division because they were ruled unconstitutional. They flipped it to a ratio of 1-to-3, which meant that one grower could grow for 3 people instead of 1-to-1. Not a huge difference. But then as that treaty I showed earlier, I'm not going to try and pull it up because it'll probably take more time than is necessary. But basically they pulled it back. They went 1-to-3, no, we're pulling it back to 1-to-1. However, in that treaty, actually in relation to the treaty, this is extracted from the actual document. This is how they relate the convention to treaty. Okay, so what happened with this is that they flipped it back, and Health Canada said they could justify switching the law back to 1-to-1 ratio and saying, we don't have to follow the courts, we can change this law. We can do this, and that's, black laws. They're not allowed to do that. It's unconstitutional, but they did it. So why did carousel happen? Carousel happened because activists chose to take a stance. I have a bigger question. Why do a bunch of sick activists with serious illnesses and a lot of serious things going on in their lives have to keep fighting the federal government for a right they won back in 2001, actually 1999 to be precise, and in 2001 we had the medical marijuana access regulations is, enacted. Since then they've been ruled unconstitutional multiple times, both lower courts, higher courts, and there's no compensation going out to anybody. One thing I will talk about is some of the government supply that they offer. These are the bags they send them in. As you can see, I've tried a few things with the government supply. The thing is, they charge $150 for a bag, so basically 30 grams. So you get a couple extra grams for your $150 ounce, basically. 20 grams an ounce, so you're paying an extra, whatever, you're getting 2 grams for free. However, you're also getting something that's been gamma eradicated or irradiated, or however you say it. Irradiated, whatever, they basically microwave it. All I know is that there's been no studies that I've personally read, unless, somebody online wants to forward me one, please do. I wanna see the studies on the trichomes and what exactly happens when they gamma rated trichome. Now, those who may not be sure what a trichome is really just, is what your medicine actually is. Not one part of the green bud that you're looking at is actually your medicine. It's what's on top of it that is actually your medicine, but different topic. I'm kind of straying off here a bit. The fact that they hid behind that, they did reverse it. Along comes Carousel, these activists challenge. Again, it gets struck down, and now it's gone to appeal. The question is, why are we continuing to look at 1-to-1 ratio when we could be allowing Molson cannabis to open up? There are people who want to help sick people. We have clubs that are doing this ongoing. We have compassion clubs across the country and different community-based dispensaries. They're allowing all this to happen, and the government's allowing it to happen while they fill the void with products such as this. And that's where some of the statistics, and I do have them lined up here. I'm just hoping I can get through them.
Go down to 4. Oh, that's 2003.
Okay, so in 2003, just a general idea, we had 1,358 persons. Now remember, this is prior to HITSIG. HITSIG is where they said you can no longer make people have to have a specialist and a GP sign a license to say it's okay to smoke something like a freaking plant. That's completely safe. There's nothing wrong with the plant. So this is prior to that.
No, this is 2007.
Oh, sorry, is it?
Through 2003.
We had it up there for a sec.
Yeah, so there we
Yeah,
go.
just click that there.
Yeah, sorry, there you go. Okay, so 706 in 2003. This is prior to HITSIG. And this is very important to look at. Below that, I believe, was the doctors. Most importantly, down below, distribution of dried marijuana and marijuana seeds. 61 persons are continuing to order as of February 2008 from Prairie Plant Systems Incorporated. Okay? They're the ones that supply these nice little gold bags of can of crap that they like to give out to people. Okay? And believe me, I've tried to make hash. It's not able to be pressed. Okay? You cannot get it. Trichomes, when they're extracted in dry screen, whether they're done as bubble hash, they should be able to compress together. And that doesn't happen when you dry screen this stuff. And it certainly doesn't happen when you make bubble hash either. It is smokable, but it's certainly not something that I would speak too highly of. And certainly, as you can see, out of the 2,392 persons who have an authorization to possess. Now, in order to have an ATP, you also have to have first an authorization to possess before you can get a PPL. A PPL just means you're allowed to also grow your cannabis. But everybody, the main number of total people in Canada is that top number of 2,329. There's very few people that remain with what is just a Section 56 exemption. And for those who may not know how or what that exactly entails, a Section 56 exemption basically can be given for cocaine, heroin, any other drug, should a doctor actually say that it's okay, and should some policymaker in Health Canada, for whatever reason, say it's necessary for you. Again, it's that autonomy thing, the right to your own body. It's an important issue. As we continue to scroll down into the into here, we can see how in British Columbia and Ontario we lead. I mean, Ontario, of course, they lead both in doctors. I mean, twice as many doctors, supporting doctors in Ontario. So what's up with the Canadian Medical Association with 60,000 doctors? I don't know. But Ontario, you can clearly see, has a big chunk. I feel sorry for those stuck in the prairies, and then of course we got Ontario with a big chunk of the map. We can continue to look down into additional stats, and now this is supporting physicians. Again, I'll point out to the supporting physicians of Ontario being 944, and basically us being half. So this is part of the reason many of our people here in BC cannot get federal licenses. A bunch of people keep asking me online in Ontario, why can't they get federal licenses? Well, this is the reason.
Just to be clear, because I had to cut and paste this, this line here is number 1, authorizations to possess. This is here, the physicians who sign on. I wasn't able to cut and paste your thing easily.
Oh, you didn't get the supporting physicians?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
That's number 1. I should have a number 1 here.
Okay, sorry.
And I should have a number 2 here, right?
Yeah, okay. Cool.
I do in the other slide for 2000.
Now, this is of course our most recent stats. Now, the government as usual is never gonna have their stats from last month. It's always gonna take them several months to get their crap up online. That said, these are the most recent stats, 2,432. Again, I point to that bottom number, 64 persons after 4 months continue to buy government cannabis crap. This is the problem that we face while the government chooses to wage war on the cannabis user, both recreational and medical. And when I say that wage war is because they give us the card.